Welcome to Prophy Plays. In this episode, we're going to do the last bit of setup for our Cepheus engine running by the Covetous Poet Adventure Guide and Solo GM Guidebook or something like that. Right, so the next step we need to do, we already have our home world, we already have our character. Now we need to come up with what is the story going to be. Now, unlike some solo tools, uh, the view of Covetous Poet is that you're primarily going to take the role of the GM, so we actually want to do quite a bit of preparation in terms of plotting before we come to the table, which is very different from some where you kind of improvise scene by scene and allow the plot to emerge this way. Instead, here we're going to very intentionally create the overarching plot, and then scene by scene, we'll see how things end up playing out. Right, so what we're going to be doing in terms of creating the plot is figure out what is it that our antagonist is going to be trying to do. Right, so we already know our protagonist is somebody who was in the scouts for 8 years, picked up a little bit of piloting skills and kind of minimal levels of some other skills as well. We know that Mies is the character's name. We know that he's a very physical character, uh, fairly strong, reasonably dexterous, high endurance, and in terms of intellect, is average. He's not an idiot, right? So that's where we're starting. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the tables that are inside of the Covetous Poet Guide to flesh out, right, what the story plot's going to be. So in order to do that, I'm not showing the pages themselves from Covetous Poet. Uh, it's something that if you want them, want it, you can pay $10 on Drive Through RPG for the thing. It's not that expensive. Right, so the way that it's set up, we have a number of charts, and these are going to be rolled on. It's a D1000 table a lot of the time, so I'm going to roll D1000 up in the upper right corner of the screen. It's just rolling 3d10. Anytime anything that is going to show up as a 10, I will interpret as being a 0. And that's what we do. Right? So we have a number of different genres that Covetous Poet is set up for: fantasy, horror, and sci-fi. In our case, we're looking at sci-fi. So I'm going to be using the sci-fi tables. So the first step then, we're just going to go like line by line through this, filling out all of the prompts first, and then we're going to go through and try to use this as inspiration to figure out what kind of plot is going to happen. So the first thing I need to do is we need to figure out our adventure type. Now there are 10 of these, so I'm going to go ahead and roll. I'll roll the 3d10 and just use the first one as the result. So let's go ahead and throw those. And the first one listed in our results would be a 7. All right, so the 7 here, looking at the chart, it gives us a space mystery. So it's a hard to explain spatial event that threatens or puzzles the hero in some way. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. So it's a space mystery. Right, so it sounds like this is probably something related to some kind of anomaly. Kind of my first impression that might change, but it's some hard to explain spatial event. So it sounds like it's at least something happening in space more than on a planet. Right. So the next step is to figure out who our opposition is. This is a D100 table, so I'm just going to roll the 3 again and use the first 2 as my result. Let's go ahead and throw that. Okay, and the first 2 are 5, 7. All right, so 57 gives us opposition. So our opposition in this case is going to be pirates or local rulers. That's what we're going to take a look at that as things flesh out. So pirates or local rulers. All right. Motivation. So this would be what is it that our opposition is trying to do? This is a D1000 roll. So go ahead and roll that. So motivation here is 865. 865 gives me support family or upset authorities and rulers. All right, so we're trying to support. So that is what the uh, villains are trying to do, is to, right, support their family or upset, right, the rulers or authorities. Now, it would be kind of odd for the local ruler, if we go the local ruler's path, for them to be the ones trying to upset the local rulers. Okay, so that's probably not the path we would end up going down. And that's one thing that I like about Covetous Poet is they typically will give you these choices, right? So then you can choose a combination that actually makes sense at the end of the day. All right, then we have a D1000 table for various sci-fi themes. So let's go ahead and check what that's going to be. So it's number 399. 399 as a theme is going to give us getting along. And so that is going to be the theme of our story when we put it all together. And so theme is getting along. All right, plot device then. So we have a fairly long list of plot devices that we can use. Uh, these plot devices are something that are typically very tied to the genre, right? So let's see. Uh, okay, there it is. Plot devices. Flip through the PDF several pages. All right. So I need two of these that may come into play here in our plot. All right. So the first one is going to be, let's roll it. We've got 183. And so 183 gives us the plot device of deal with the robot devil. So someone sells out to the enemy or villains in exchange for something. Okay. So someone is selling out to these villains for some reason. So deal with the robot devil. I'm guessing they put robot in the title just to make this look more sci-fi, right? So this is somebody dealing with the villain. So I'm going to go ahead and make a note of that as well. Right? So someone made a deal with the villain. Yeah, we're running over that a bit. That's fine. And then we need another roll. And our next roll is 120. Fairly low numbers on this table. Is brain slug. Some being has the ability to control another being's thoughts and actions. Okay, so there's some kind of mind control going. So put that in. Brain slug. So just note this is some kind of mind control that's going on. All right. Action plus thing. So we have a couple sci-fi action and sci-fi thing tables. So I'm gonna roll both actions. No, let's do an action and then a thing, an action and then a thing. We'll do it that way. All right. So let's go ahead and roll on that, and we throw it. And what have we got? Okay, so it's 0, 1, 2 on this one. So it's accept. It's one of the actions. It's going to be accepting. Accept, and then the thing that it's related to is going to be 13. Oh, no, not 13. Using the total. Oh, come on, Lucas. All right, it's 823. Okay, so it's a much higher number in the things chart. 823. Not that the number doesn't really matter that much. They just have them in alphabetical order. So it's accept story. Okay, so that is going to some way play into this. So accept story. And the other action thing combination is going to be 409 for the action. See, 409 on the action table gives us foil. All right, so somebody's trying to foil something. Foil what? And let's roll on the things table. And the things table, number one, what is it? Oh, I read that wrong. Number 902. So thing number 902 is going to be traitor. It's going to foil a traitor. Right now, if we think of this um, from the villain's point of view, that means there's going to be somebody that has betrayed them, most likely. Right, so this kind of the story plot gives you the idea of who is it that's going to be a problem, either pirates or local rulers, why they're doing it. They're doing it to support their family or to upset authorities. The types of things they're doing, they're using some kind of mind control, they're making deals with people. Right. Now, the theme that's going to come out of the story is the importance of getting along, which I think that's going to be cool because we also have in here the idea of traders happening and trying to deal with traders. Now, in story background, these are just other things we could possibly pull from that give some more of the backstory of what was it that led to this point. Is we need a couple complications, a couple plot devices, some more action thing combinations, and then three locations we might possibly be pulling from. All right, so let's go ahead and go with the first complication. So we have a sci-fi complication table. All right, so I'm going to flip over to the sci-fi complications table. It's a D1000 table, and we will roll on that. Okay, and our first one is number 748. 748, that complication is a reputation problem or overvisibility. It's a reputation problem or overvisibility. And then a second complication we might possibly have, but this is very much like playing Ad Libs or something like that, or Mad Libs. Right? Okay, so we got 097. So 097 is a catastrophe or suspiciousness. So that's another possible complication here. So catastrophe or suspiciousness. In terms of plot devices, we need a couple more plot devices. All right, so flipping through to the plot device table. All right, let's see what other plot devices we might possibly be using. Let's throw that out here. It's 271. 271 is further down than I expected. It's exterminatus. Characters resolve that some evil place should be wiped off the star map, though someone or something may stand in their way. All right, so exterminatus. It's kind of a dark plot device here. Exterminatus. That is, characters want to destroy evil place. Now, if we think of this though as being related to the villain instead of the player characters, this might possibly be something that these pirates or local rulers want to do. There's some place that they consider to be evil and are trying to wipe it out. So these are kind of directions we can go, right? Or this could just be an evil place that Mies decides needs to be destroyed, right, for whatever reason. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at a second plot device here, put into our background, and that's going to be number 546. 546 on the plot device table gives me a murderous robot that is AI created by organic beings decides its creator's continued existence doesn't seem like a high priority. So we have a murderous robot as part of what's going on here as well. Now this might possibly be connected with maybe it's maybe these robots are based in some kind of evil place or something like that. So that could also be part of the background. Other action thing combinations they might possibly pull from. Let's go ahead and look that up. So actions here. Again, we got to roll on the D1000 table. So roll that. And we've got 314. Number 314, the action chart is drain. Good. Drain. And then the next thing and actually, it's literally the next thing. So on our things chart, we're looking at number 536. 536. I will say one of the great benefits is a mysterious disappearance. Oh, that's cool. Right, so what do we have to do with it? We have to drain a mysterious disappearance. That's hmm, so an odd combination of words. All right, so let's see what we can come up with. And naturally, with any of these, like as is always the case, and as pretty much any solo um, tools will tell you, it's your game. You do what you want. So if there's something we can't figure out how to work with, we just won't use it. 835 is just scare. So scare. And then the thing that's attached to is number 395. So thing number 395 is homeless. So scare the homeless. Okay. Another action plus thing. We have several of these that we're going to be able to integrate, choose from, and the like. So throwing my dice here, it looks like 489. All right, so 489 is going to be idolize. And then our thing that is attached to that will be idolize 716. Thing number 716 is robbery. Okay, that's definitely pushing me a direction here. Idolize robbery, that's definitely pushing me more in the direction of having this be pirates as being the opposition here. All right. In terms of locations, that we have again another table here of sci-fi locations. It's another D1000 table. I will say, even though I say it's a D1000 table, that doesn't mean there are 1,000 entries on it. A lot of them are like you have a range, right? So here the ranges tend to be like 1 to 4, 5 to 8, that kind of thing. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and check this. So first location is going to be location number 249. 249 is going to be a foreign land. Second location is going to be 779. 779 is a shipyard. And then finally, the last location, 323. 323 is hill. Because these are three different locations that may be significant in some way, right, to the background of the story. Right, so let's go ahead and think through this. Right, so it's going to be a space mystery, so there's some kind of spatial anomaly that is mysterious in some way. Now, there's nothing in that saying this is specifically like causing problems. It's not necessarily like a black hole suddenly appeared and started sucking up planets or something like that. Just something unusual that would spark our interest, right? So now this might possibly be either where we end up or where things start. I'm not really sure about that. In terms of opposition, I'm really leaning toward this being pirates. I like the idea of this being pirates. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and edit that a bit. Oh, I did not want to do that. Okay. All right. So I think, yeah, pirates is what I'm thinking here. Right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and take and erase, right, the local rulers here if I can. Or no, I'll white them out. That's a better way to do this. I'm using paint.net as my editor here. Right, so I can just let's use white instead of black. There we go. So we're gonna do pirates there. And I like the idea that the pirates are really just trying to get along. So they're trying to support their family, and that does add some complexity to these characters they're going to have. Right, so we have this group of pirates, right, trying to support their family. It may even be a pirating family or something like that. Right. And the way that they're going about this, trying to support their families, they're making deals with people, right? That probably is going to involve bribery in some way, I would guess, but they're also using mind control. So that's a little bit darker, right? Right. So now the question is, what type of evil are they going to be doing that Mies might possibly be interested in? Well, that's an interesting question. So how would the pirates be involved with the space mystery would be one question, right? And why is it that uh, our main character, Mies, is going to have a problem with this. Okay. And so that's something neat is going to require some more thought here. So for further inspiration, let's go ahead and think about the story background. So we have either a reputation problem or overvisibility. So in the case, I'm actually going to use a circle here, I think, instead of, there we go. So I'm going to use just, right, yeah, just a shape outline here. To me, I think that overvisibility is going to be something that would be more of a problem. Okay, I don't want that. Undo that one. Yeah, instead I want not a rectangle, I want an oval or something like that. Or yeah, an oblong, a rounded rectangle makes sense here. Right, and decrease the brush size quite a bit, otherwise we just end up blacking the thing out. Okay, so I think, yeah, a problem with overvisibility makes sense to me. Right? That is, that somehow, right, these pirates have become more visible than they want to be. Because after all, piracy, unless you're doing it for glory, uh, uh, having doing this kind of undercover or being less noticed might possibly be beneficial. And reputation, of course, it may be helpful as well, right? If you want to scare people into just giving in to you or something like that. So that's one issue. Right? So we have overvisibility is a problem that they're having to deal with. Another problem they're having to deal with is either catastrophe or suspiciousness. I think maybe there's some kind of catastrophe as well. That actually might be related, right, with the space mystery. Okay. Now, here is where I think like Exterminatus and Murderous Robot, these two, I think, give us a way of coming up with something that the main character would care about. Right? Because after all, wanting to destroy an evil place, if it's some place that Mies cares about, right, or doesn't believe is evil and deserves to survive, right, or continue, right, then this would be something that he would want to stop them. Similarly, a murderous robot, right, some kind of AI that got out of control is something that would similarly be something any living being should want to stop. All right. Right. So I think that that is something that we want to work in here. And so here's what my thinking is. Right. So the catastrophe is related to this murderous robot. So I think what happened, right, is that these pirates, they actually developed the murderous AI. Right, so they're not dumb pirates. These are actually fairly intelligent pirates. So why did they do this? I think they did this because, right, of the overvisibility problem. That they felt like they needed to take a step back, and then were using, right, this AI system, right? And it might be literal robots. That's something that exists in the Cepheus universe. Yes, they might be using, right, automated systems, that kind of thing, in some way to draw attention away, right, from what they are doing. However, this ends up turning on them because, as anybody knows, you can't actually produce an intelligent robot that doesn't turn on you, right? So that's going to be an issue. All right, so I'm thinking that's what's happening here. So I'm going to go ahead and type some of this up as I'm thinking through it, just making some rough notes that naturally I could go back and change later. Okay, so let's go ahead and think about this. So we've got pirates, right? Pirates, caught the attention of the Galactic Navy. Often, what the Navy's job is, right, is to fight off pirates. So they caught the attention of the Galactic Navy. Certainly, the Galactic Navy has more resources than pirates themselves do, right? So in that case, so we got pirates caught the attention of the Galactic Navy. That's a bad thing. So decided to develop an AI system to deflect attention from them. Right? However, it turned on them catastrophically. Right. So that's part of the background. So we've got this issue that the pirates are dealing with. So we have this AI that they created. It's creating problems not only for the Navy, right, but also, right, for the creators themselves. Right. So I think we need to think about then, how does this play in, right, with the other stuff that's going on, right? So we've got drain mysterious disappearance, scare homeless, and idolize robbery. That's all something like idolize robbery. I'm just going to kind of write off. That is that these are okay. That's something more about the pirates, I guess. We'll flesh that out, right? So the pirates are in fact a family, right, that has been pirating for generations. Right? That is, they see robbery as an art form as well as a way to support themselves. I like that. I like that idea a lot, actually. And so it's not so when we talk about idolizing robbery, right, then it's actually like robbery itself is something that's valuable. Now, I want to pull in some of these other things. So, location, foreign land, shipyard, and hill. So, how do those play in? Well, foreign land, to me, foreign land suggests that this is not going to be on the the home world, right, for Mies. So this is something that's happening a ways off. And I kind of like that because it's going to give us the ability then in Act One to say that okay, Mies is not going to be immediately into thick of it. Instead, we can spend Act One kind of exploring his character, exploring the things that he can do, setting up situations, and then it's not really going to be until we get a few scenes in that then we're going to introduce this particular problem, which is really the core of what's happening. Right? And that is something that is generally recommended here by Covetous Poet. They say that in that first act, yeah, stuff is happening, but you don't want to jump right to the action too quick necessarily, unless your goal is to decrease the number of acts. Right, so the general three-act structure. First act is going to be introductory. So we're going to have several scenes that are going to play out with Mies, which are not going to be directly related to this issue that we're um, developing right now. The reason we're developing this is that so that by the end of Act One, we can get Mies involved, right, with this particular problem. Right? Then Act Two is mostly focused upon that problem and a rising series of challenges that the character is going to have to face. Then finally, Act Three, you get our final confrontation between the pirates, whoever it is that's going to be heading them up, right, and Mies, assuming that things develop according to the way that we're imagining here. And it's also perfectly possible that maybe I could imagine the AI system ending up being the main villain, the way things are going now, right? So they see robbery as an art form as well as a way to support themselves. So back here, so in order to draw on the locations, right? So I'm going to say the locations are significant because one, pirates are based not on Kugethia being the home world. Two, and shipyards are obviously important, but I think it would be that the AI system is integrated into a shipyard's systems. And that might be this is the place that the pirates want to destroy. Perfect. Destroy, not destroy. Come on. All right. So the AI system is integrated into this shipyard's computer system. Now, this would be really good if this shipyard, I'm going to say this shipyard, is on a very populated planet. I'm gonna have to check my sector to see what the most populated planets are in that sector. Um, actually, we can probably do that now, to be honest. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and open that. I'm gonna go ahead and open the subsector map here, just as a separate file. Okay. And so yeah, we can see that there. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in a bit, take a look around. Okay. Now, the population. Okay, one thing I want to look for first is where do we have really important, like here, Zingaris. I think Zingaris is actually a really good point that this might actually be it, to be honest. Because this is some place where, like, there's a naval base, so it would make sense that if we're trying to distract the Navy, we would do something near there because they would be aware of it. It also has a fairly high population. When you look at the population number here, that's a 9. So the 9 would indicate that we have, that would be 9 zeros in our population. So we have like over a billion people here. It looks like yeah, something like a billion, because I think there's a 1 up here, if I can see that right. Right, so we're talking about a billion people on this planet. That's quite a bit. All right. Another possibility, I'm looking at Pathos down here, also has a billion people. Looking at the PBG, yeah, so that's also a billion people, and Pathos, it also has the most advanced. Um, I think that's the only. Yeah, it's the only A level starbase that we have in our system. So that would also be a reasonably good target. So Piathos, Zingaris, both of them right within a communications line with Cugethius, so there would be some way we would expect it would take some time because in the Cepheus universe, one of the things that I love about it is they don't have faster than light communications. Right, so the way that communications happen is through ships. Right, so you have courier ships that will take messages right from one planet to another. Right, so information does not move faster than people can, right? Which I think is a cool thing in that it creates this ability for there to be like these big gaps, right? So like another like so getting a message, for example, from Zingaris to Tengen, which is also someplace that has what are they? It looks like they have a I'm trying to remember what the triangle indicates. I think that might be a scout, possibly. Usually, Kigathi is supposed to have a scout, but I think that maybe I programmed it wrong. In any case, so yeah, it seems that that's also a B. So for them to get a message, if we follow the kind of typical communications channels, it's going to take a really long time for Zingars to learn what's happening in Tangan or Tangan. I'm going to have to decide how do you pronounce that? It doesn't matter. It's a made up name. All right. So I can just choose that. Now, this is a less populated planet. You can see it has 6 zeros, so it's only about somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 million people are living here. We've got a 7 in our PPG. Right, so 7 with 6 zeros after it, that's about 7 million people. Okay, so that would be not quite as populated. I'm going to say that's somewhat less likely, although they do have a pretty high, their tech levels of B, which is also pretty high, but that's also true for Piathos and also for Zingaris. So these are all fairly advanced areas. So I'm going to say I'm not decided between Zingaris and Piathos, but it's probably going to be one of those two where this is all happening. And that means this is going to be a significant problem because if it is, say, the starbase there at Piathos or that Zingaris, where we have this AI that's going haywire, that's going to be a real problem. Okay, so I like that. I like that. Okay, so on a very populated planet, I'm just going to note here it's either Zingaris or Piathos. I'm not particularly positive which one of those I want to go with just yet. The question is, do I want the Navy to already be there, or do I want them to be further away? I kind of want them to be further away. It's not Zingaris, it's Piathos. And that also has the only A-level starbase. So that makes it a very important location for the sector. And so I like that. So the shipyard's on a very populated planet, Piathos. That is the only A-level starport, or yeah, it's starport, not starbase, starport in the system or subsector to be more proper in terms of the terminology. All right. So that's definitely going to be a problem. Now, also related to drain mysterious appearance and scare homeless. We haven't worked in the hill yet into this background. All right. So the trader we need to work in. Okay. All right. So other things that are happening in the let's flesh out the background first, I guess. So scaring the homeless. I think it might be that the way that this AI is operating right now, it hasn't yet gotten to the point where it's doing too much, right? So I'm gonna say no, that the AI started right, in like one of the pirates were developing it on their ships, but then it jumped through a series of I guess, strategic moves, right, it made its way right to Piathos, right. So it did not start there, right. It moved there. And so this AI system has integrated itself right into that system, but that's only happened recently, right. So I like that. So it's only a level starport in the subsector. There's lots of traffic there, lots of opportunity for the AI to move itself to that location, and now it is creating problems right for that particular planet, which I'm going to have to get the details of later. All right. Actually, I'm going to check right now. So what do we know about Piathos? So it has an A-level starport, 6, so it's a reasonably kind of average size. So it's a planet that's a little bit smaller than Earth. 5, so it's about, half. Oh wait, is that okay? No, that would be the atmosphere first, I believe. Right, so the atmosphere, that'd be a relatively thin atmosphere. don't recall whether 5 is tainted or not, but it's probably breathable without needing any particular devices. 4, so it's about 40% water, and that's actually what you can see here, the way that they've divided this up. Okay. Fairly populated. B and C. Oh wow. Okay. So B here would be the type of government it has. That is an extremely uh, strict government. Let me look this up in my book here. So B, that'd be a non-charismatic leader, right? So it's somebody fairly authoritarian, because C there next to it would be the law level. A C law level is extremely high. So we're talking about an extremely strict place. Like no weapons are allowed on this planet or anything like that. You're going to be running into law enforcement all the time. Any kind of crimes that you commit are going to be punished fairly severely and fairly quickly, you would expect, right? So I can see why the pirates themselves would really want to avoid this particular system because that's not great. It's not a place you want to end up. All right. So, I'm certainly if you're smuggling or whatever. All right. So, so that means this is going to be perhaps difficult to deal with unless the authorities pick up on it. Now, scaring the homeless, I think that it might be in this world, right? Homelessness is probably going to be something that's very much looked down upon. Uh, I might even be illegal in some sense. It might be that this is the kind of place where the way they deal with homelessness is that they just you round them up and collect them, right? So I imagine the homeless here may be some of the first people to be aware as there are things going awry, but then this is all being kept kind of under the surface because the homeless themselves have to stay hidden, right? So I'm going to say that the homeless are the first that are aware. So the first that are aware of systems malfunctioning thanks to this AI, but are too afraid to come forward because of the oppressive government in the system. Okay, that's good. Right, so brain mysterious disappearance sounds weird, right? But I'm thinking that part of what is happening is that people are also vanishing. All right, so I'm just going to note, right, people are vanishing, and this is a fairly advanced uh, it's a fairly advanced system. Like a tech level B is pretty high, right? So it very well may be that they have lots of automated systems, especially with the population level they do, right? So I think these automated systems are in some way, right, consuming people perhaps, or at the very least making them disappear. Okay. All right. So I'm going to say the pirates want to destroy, right, this particular starport, but naturally they can't do that immediately. I guess with the law level being what it is, and the Navy's going to get in their way, especially because the authorities don't yet recognize the problem that's happening here. Okay. All right. So how is it that the pirates are dealing with this? So now we've come to right the story plot. So we've got some of the background. So what's going on here? The space mystery. I think the space mystery might not actually be like what I was saying before, some kind of spatial anomaly. Instead, it's about this AI. Now, we as the GM know what's going on, but our main character wouldn't necessarily. This is an odd thing that's happening. Well, certainly we have AI systems in the Cepheus universe. They seem to be in some ways kind of low powered and very specialized in their abilities, right? So you have like translation programs, that kind of thing, right? So this is something different. This is something that seems to have achieved some greater level of sentience and that is causing problems. And that is probably honestly why it came to this place. One, it's easy to leave because of the starport, but two, with the high tech level, with a high population, it has the potential to really, really cause problems here. Okay. So so maybe that traditionally this would be the pirates are the enemy. They may not end up being, depending on how things go. All right, so the space mystery that's these oddities that are happening on the planet of Piathos. Opposition pirates, motivation to support their family. Theme is going to be getting along, right? Plot device. So deal with the robot deaths. This is someone has made a deal with the villain, or is going to have to make a deal with the villain. So our robots, yeah, our pirates are trying to make deals with folks, right, to try to deal with this issue. But at the same time, they're worried about drawing attention to themselves, given their own history and given the oppressive nature of some of the governments in this area. So brain slugs, I'm going to say, so this is something else they are resorting to. Okay. All right. Now they also want to accept story and foil traitor. Accept story. So this is something I think maybe they are in some kind of state of denial, and that is leading them to be more sluggish with dealing with this thing. All right, so let's go ahead and flesh some of this out. I'm going to type it in here. That is, the pirates themselves are kind of resisting the reality of what they have created and unleashed. But as they come to terms with it, are resorting to deal making and mind control, perhaps using drugs or something like that. Right, to try to gain alliances, or allies rather, to try to gain allies. They can fight this AI system. No, that's not their goal. Remember that what they want to do is actually destroy. It can help them destroy Pathos's starbase, which that is going to be a problem. All right, now there's this whole traitor thing. Um, oh, that's it. Okay. However, one of their number. I've not come up with names for people yet. I'm going to come up with just like a random name list that I'll start pulling from. However, one of them has gone to the Galactic Navy for help. Okay, and that is also going to kind of bring these two factions into conflict with each other. Okay, all right. So that's what's going on. The only thing that I can see that I've not integrated at all is the location that's a hill. Okay, and I think, yeah, foil trader, accept story, that's all in there as well. All right, so we now have kind of a rough idea of what's going on here. We have, certainly there are inside of this places where we can see Mies would interact with it in some way. Right, so Mies, remember, was a native of Cugathia, was part of the scouts. We haven't actually decided where he's going to be starting. So he left the scouts after serving 8 years and decided to take up adventuring. So we do have various places we know the scouts are. Right, so one would, of course, be in Kigathia, and then we also have, it looks like Zabaruzna has one, Zangaras, Bibulabane. So there are lots of places that he could be. Tanalgulse, right? So I could see him possibly being located somewhere. Oh, right there are some pirates in Hadarana. That might have been where they started, because that's reasonably close to Piathos. All right, yeah, I think that makes sense. Right, so we've got lots of scouts around. Yeah, so I think it would make sense if he is located not too far from Piathos, they're going to get news fairly quickly, or at least get rumors fairly quickly. So I'm going to say that that's probably what's going to happen. That the story is going to pick up in Tentacles, uh, possibly even Hadarana. Right. Right. So because that's where the pirates are going to be located. So somewhere around here. So we're not right on Piathos, where the problem is, but that would give us a few scenes that we can play out before we end up having to get there and deal with this problem, or deal with the pirates that created the problem. Right. So I think we're going to call it there. we have a good idea of where we're going with this, right? So we'll save this, load that up into my tabletop simulator, which is where I'm going to be playing most of the game. And that is it. So Prof. Engelhardt signing off.